Welcome back, my creepy crew, to Big Go Belt. My name is Zero Gravity, your resident Scream Queen. And today I have a couple words for you about the newest horror legacy drop, The First Omen, which you can see in theaters starting this Friday, April 5th. The First Omen is written and directed by Arkasha Stevenson and serves as a prequel to one of the, let's admit it, unarguably one of the best horror movies of all time. That is 1976's The Omen. This is technically the sixth film in the franchise, but I'm going to be audacious on YouTube today. And I'm going to tell you that the OG is really the only one that you need to cross off your list. So, this in Legacy Stallment, however, has me hype. It has me hype because I know that people are going to be encouraged to go back to the 70s and watch the original Omen after they check out this one. And that just makes me ecstatic because it's art and everyone needs to see the power of it. Okay. You could play this perfectly as a double feature in either order. As someone who's never seen the franchise, never heard of the franchise, never stepped into the franchise, and it will work perfectly. So don't worry too much about doing your homework before you head over to the theater. So for this one, The First Omen, the synopsis is as follows. A young American woman, who's played by Nell Tiger Free, is sent to Rome to begin a life of service to the church, but encounters a darkness that causes her to question her faith and uncovers a terrifying conspiracy that hopes to bring about the birth of evil incarnate. Now, if you've seen The Omen, I'm sure that's no, surprise to you. But this is where it starts. This is where it begins. So I'm going to keep this review spoiler free, but I have to say one thing about the opening sequence here. Off the bat, you're going to see that this film plans on wasting no time at all gaining momentum. It starts off with a slightly confusing opening sequence that, in my opinion, serves as kind of a weak homage to the timeless beheading scene that came from 1976's The Omen. There is, however, a scene that plays absolutely gorgeous homage to a film of similar themes that is 1981's Possession. If you know, you know. So that happens at the start of the third act that 100% makes up for that kind of weak opening scene, in my opinion. I just needed to get that off my chest really quickly. Now, on to our characters. So Nell Tiger Free plays Sister Margaret. She's just awesome. She creates a sort of innocence and naivety with her emotion that blossoms super well with what her character is subjected to in Acts 2 and 3 in this movie. I don't quite want to call it character development, however. It's more like a gradual increase of character drive and intensity in the performance with the emotion and everything. We also have supporting actors, including Ralph Ineson as Father Brennan and Maria Caballero as homegirl Sister Luce, who I loved. I loved her performance, and I hope to see her more in horror in general. So although the performances were all on point, I think that the pace of this film and its editing make the story feel very choppy. As a viewer, I almost feel like I was watching an abridged version of what should have been a much longer story, like the bits and pieces. I went to YouTube and looked at a recap instead of watching the whole episode. Now, this film sits at a runtime of 2 hours, even. So I'm definitely not suggesting y'all, stretch it out for the director's cut or whatever, but maybe some scene swaps and cuts could have helped with that weird pacing feel. It's still kind of hard to put my finger on what was off for me as a viewer. So now, okay, down to the scary stuff. We have a lot of really great, super epic, burn into your brain kind of moments for its fear and its gore in here. Just classic like its daddy. Classic like its daddy, The Omen. This is what I truly believe is getting people to buzz about this film so hard over anything else besides the legacy title alone. It's probably, I don't want to say the jumps, but it's the visuals. It's the audacity, the things that this film is willing to show you that is getting critics and hopefully audiences once this movie drops to get into the theater. Besides the fact that it's a legacy prequel. It's a legacy prequel, so that's kind of a free shot right there. But my issue with the scary stuff is the lack of suspense. So I feel that jump scares and those seriously brutal and jarring moments in horror should more often than not be lubed up with a healthy amount of suspense beforehand just to make the fear hit a little bit harder when it gets there. I feel like there wasn't much suspense at all with this film. And hey, maybe I could bring it all the way back to the editing and pacing that made me feel this way. It could be, again, I can't really put my finger on it, but it feels a little bit weird. But when those jarring visual moments hit, the true horror that we came to the theater to see, I was completely missing that heart drop to stomach moment that, is supposed to happen when what I'm waiting for is finally revealed. That's It was a little bit disappointing on my end just because I, as most horror fans are adrenaline jockeys. So we're looking for that heart drop moment. We got the visuals, and I will say they are pretty insane, but I would have liked a little bit more suspense leading up to that. So when it finally does hit again, it's like bang. You know what I mean? But hopefully, once this movie starts to drop and the reviews really start coming in, I would love to see some folks disagree with me on this. Um, but what should be scary enough for me, though, is just the commentary alone. But unfortunately, the wheel has not been reinvented here. I will always, always, always 100, 1000% always welcome stories concerning women's reproductive rights and women's rights to their own bodies, women's sexual health, especially when concerning religion. In fact, I do believe that horror is the perfect home for it. But it just is what it is. This topic has been done over many times in horror. In fact, it was just done last week, right? With the release of Immaculate, where we follow another American nun, who's Sydney Sweeney, in Italy as she has to deal with the Catholic Church's societal pressure and its right to her body. Just saw it. Again, horror is where these stories should be. I think they thrive in the horror genre, and it's never a bad thing to reinvent the wheel. But if it's going to be that, I would like just at least one or two little things that make it stand away from other stories of similar shape. And that does not include a legacy title. Legacy title isn't enough to make this something that's never been done before. Legacy title is great, but give me a little bit of a twist, whether it be a character or an atmosphere, setting, editing style, something a little bit different. That's all. Legacy title's not enough to do it, although we do love a legacy title. So I think that's really all the thoughts that I have. But before I close this joint out, let me say one more thing. And when I say this, I am speaking directly to the horror heads right now, okay? Look at me in your screen and hear me when I say this. Not nearly enough jackal action. If you've never seen The Omen, you probably have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But if you know, you know. Not nearly enough jackal action. But hey, if you want to check out some sites that you can't unsee, go watch The First Omen in theaters this Friday. And as always, I've been Zero Gravity. Thank you so much for watching.